here's going to twist. It's going to push down. It's going to push this whole central column and this button down, and that's what's going to do the press. Okay, this is very simple tools put together in a different way. That's the first one. Now we're going to roll this into its second position to do this again. And now we're going to pull it out. And here we have our print. Now this print is for the 250th anniversary of the creation of the United States Army. That's what we're commemorating today, and actually this whole month. So if you go over in front of Independence Hall, they've got some Army like transport vehicles and stuff set up for that.
They have artillery cannon. They have an artillery cannon too.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of cool stuff set up, and they're doing all sorts of activities today. And we have little quotes like "Don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes." And we're going to be having these sorts of 250ths for the next 10, 15 years, right? Because next year we've got signing of the Declaration of Independence, amongst other things. And then we've got all the battles for the war, and then we're going to have the peace in Paris about 10 or so years later. And then we're going to have the U.S. Constitution, which I don't know if we've ever printed. It's only 4 pages. It might, usually for big jobs like that, we contract it out, like for the Declaration of Independence. It's a lot of small type, and we were not taken from our families at age 12 to be good at this. So, Now, this is still a little wet. We got to hang it up to dry. So we want to, much like you might see if you go to a fancy bakery or a pizzeria, we're going to pop this on here. And we're going to put this up with its friends, and that'll allow it to dry.
How long does it take to dry?
It's a damp day. Sometimes it takes about 4 hours, but that can adjust. We only put them 1 deep. Back then, when they did it, they'd have them in piles of 12. And, it takes a certain amount of time to dry. They'd have drying rooms, sometimes even with fires going. And what we do is, no matter what, we don't deal with it today. We take it down tomorrow, the next morning. We pile them up. We press them flat. We look them over for quality. We trim them up if they need it. And then we sell them in the shop. So everything we have here in the shop was printed here, except for this bag. All the prices include tax. We take cash, credit, and Apple Pay, and if anybody wanted to get one of these as a souvenir, that's perfectly fine. If any of the kids want trading cards, we have that for free. And also, questions are answered for free as well.
Oh, my bad.
When you hang them up like 12 thick, does the ink ever bleed through if they're too damp?
So I'm going to put it 2 different ways. Do you see all these smudges up there?
Yeah.
If you hit up too hard, it might smudge off a little bit. But on the other hand, if you lay a bunch of them on top and you just put them up, it's not going to be a problem, right? See this? This is printed both sides, one side then the other, while it's still wet. You use a little bit less ink. You put up a pile of them. It's a little bit more smudged than not doing that, but it's really not that bad. Now, if you put a pile of them and then went, it create a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But in general, if you're kind of careful and gentle with it, it's not too much of an issue. What was your question?
So what is that room for?
That room that is currently off limits is for the binder. Now, at this point, people generally all had very different jobs. We have this idea of like ultimate self-reliance, with the idea that like one person would be like raising their sheep and shearing it and weaving it and dyeing it and cutting it and making their clothes. And nobody was really, as a rule, doing that since like the 1300s. Like none of us, generally speaking, unless we're homesteading, do every single thing that we need to keep ourselves going. And they found out very, very quickly in the middle ages, it was a lot better to have some people specialize and have a system of commerce based off of that. And so, could Ben Franklin make paper? Yes. If there was an issue where they couldn't get paper for some reason, he could make paper. It's going to be a little cruddier and it's going to be more expensive, but he could technically do it. Could he make his own ink? Sure. More expensive, not great quality. He thought the good stuff came from the Netherlands, which is where we coincidentally get what we have now. But he could technically do it. That's the binder. That's for, binding all the pages together. That's
to make a book.
Person.
To make
a book. Now, we used to demonstrate it here, but that actually would be a different building run by some other person who would train for that. You could.
So that's what they did when they made the Bible? They used stuff like that?
Binding it? They would have had a binder to bind it together. Yeah, exactly. If you've got any sort of book pamphlet on long form, hymnals, things like that. Now, your type, your letters, that's coming from Europe. That's a fine trade. If you've got an image like you're going to have in this, that's coming from Europe. If you have an image that's okay if it's a little chunky and you're not going to use it that too much, you can carve it out of wood as a wood block. And this is going to be just as deep as the letters are high. You just set it in with the other letters. It's not going to be a problem. You can print it up with the others. This would be a wood block. That would be a wood block. That's not a problem. That's easy to do. Yeah.
Were there people whose like entire job was to like carve the wood to like make the pictures?
So there were people whose entire job was making the letters. I don't think anybody, generally this would be done in-house by the person who ran their shop. Or whoever, I guess, was best at it out of the 3 to 8 people who worked in your shop.
Okay.
Now, did anybody want to earn trading cards? Yeah? Maybe? Excellent. Okay, you want a trading card? Awesome. Where are you guys traveling from?
Maryland.
Maryland, cool. Is this your first national park or have you been to other national parks?
We've been to
You've been to a few? Do you guys go to Williamsburg?
We have been there. Yes.
So you might have seen maybe Yorktown, Jamestown in the area. Excellent. Hope you have fun exploring your
Thank you.
parks. Would you like to earn a trading card? Awesome. What's your favorite park you've been to?
I think this one might be my favorite because I've always seen these on YouTube and I've never seen it in person.
It's cool, right? To actually visit it. Have you been to the National Mall?
Where's the National Mall?
The National Mall in Washington, D.C. connects Congress to the Lincoln Memorial. That's part of the National Park Service. I